On June 23, 1972, Richard Nixon signed Title IX into law to equalize education in the United States. We used to sit on the sidelines. We used to only be spectators. We were overlooked, undervalued. We weren't seen as profitable, as interesting. Not worth the investment. Then, everything changed.
No person in the United States
shall, on the basis of sex,
be excluded from participation.
From participation in, be denied the benefits of, or be subjected
to discrimination under any education program
or activity receiving federal financial assistance.
37 words that changed everything.
Good evening. Thank you for tuning in tonight. We are so lucky to have our guest tonight here with us. Tonight we are following up, in addition to our Join the Movement town hall we had at the Mystical Rose Gardens in Baldwin, Wisconsin a few weeks ago. And we met on July 8th at the Somerset School Board, where it was max capacity. We had all the seats filled. We had people sitting on the floor. We had people out the hallway. This issue has really captivated the nation. There are so many lawsuits right now, 26 different states, 14 with injunctions. It's really, with the Biden administration's changes that they've done to Title IX, we are seeing a unconstitutional matter right in front of our eyes. We saw a lot of things during the COVID era in schools. We've seen the books in schools. We've seen the masking in schools. And it seems like the schools just aren't listening, and the federal government's not listening. What makes this matter even a little bit more of a frustrating thing right now is that they actually tied the school lunch program to it. So tonight we're joined by some school board members, and this is again a follow-up from our town hall we had prior. We actually can follow up and show you the link or send you the link as well. Since our inception of this program, Join the Movement, established 2021, is an organization that is concerned citizens. What we do is we gather and we equip and we educate and we mobilize around the county. And we have 35 different municipalities here in St. Croix County, Wisconsin. We are basically on the western corner, basically a few miles away from the Minneapolis St. Paul Woodbury bridge separating us from Minnesota. So we're way down here in the corner. And so a lot of times they forget about us out in western Wisconsin. A lot of the activities are on the eastern side. However, we've had some really brave warriors, I call them here, on this side of the river, and that is a gentleman by the name of Scott Miller. He is actually a school board member over at the Baldwin Woodville district. And we have Derek Miller, who is with St. Croix Central, which he is a warrior out there, which we really appreciate. And then Danny Erickson. Danny Erickson has been a mother, first term school board member, actually just recently got elected to the board, and she's already making waves in just a short few months. Danny is actually how this all really got started. She saw this as being overreached by the Biden administration. Happy. She felt like they were coming for the children, and she wanted something to do on this. So she had reached out to Scott Miller, which then obviously between Scott Miller and Danny, they reached out to me from joining the movement, and we've picked this thing up. And so far we've had probably about 3 meetings, if not 4. And this has really caught on like fire. So tonight what we want to do is just want to kind of recap where we've been and kind of how you can get involved and where we're going. So tonight I think we should kick off with Scott Miller first. He's from Baldwin Woodville. He's in the top right corner. So I think we'll kick off with him. Scott, you want to go ahead and share who you are and tell the viewers kind of why you got involved in this?
Hey, man. Hey, thanks for the intro. Hey, yeah. Scott Miller, married to Monica. I got 4 kids in the Baldwin Woodville School District. Was just elected to the district in April, to the school board in April. And, I'm just joining just wanted to be involved. So I, at the end of the day, my kids can't say that I didn't fight for what was right. And this is one of those topics that, I believe the people pushing this have other agendas, and it has nothing to do with our kids or our staff in our schools. It goes along with dividing our people, the people. So the people that are raising our taxes and, sending money to Ukraine and all these foreign countries and, basically mortgaging our kids. That's what the fight's about. This is one topic out of many that, we have coming in the future. So that's why I'm here. One thing I will mention in the comments, Matt, there is a Rumble link in the comments. And that was the forum that Matt was referencing. So there's also some
Scott, you there? We lose you?
Oh, yep, I'm still here.
Perfect. Okay, and for those who are watching too, I used to be the former chairman of the Republican Party here in St. Croix County, and so I got to work a lot with Scott on a great many issues. And Scott's right. I think we'd be remiss if we didn't throw our prayers in for former President Donald Trump tonight. He's been standing as strong for our nation. He stood up to a lot of these things that Scott had mentioned. And so I just want to throw that in tonight to send our prayers off to President Trump because he is being a warrior in this country, just like these 3 are here local for all of us in this county. So again, Scott, thank you for everything you've done. You have been so influential and really appreciate your involvement in this. Derek, would you like to share a little bit about who you are and kind of why you're to this issue?
You bet. Yep. Thanks a lot, Matt. Appreciate the intro there. My name's Derek Miller. I was elected to the St. Croix Central School Board just a little over a year ago. Kind of normally one of the guys that sits back in the weeds on most topics and doesn't get too worked up. I think a lot of people know where I stand. They don't have to ask me a lot of questions. But with 5 kids in the school district and 4 of them being females, owning a wrestling club that is actually one of the premier female wrestling clubs in the country. Again, take a back seat in that club. I don't do a lot of coaching. I manage our finances and make sure we're paying our bills. I have a few rental properties in River Falls. Go to the well a lot to the female basketball coach and have a lot of female athletes that rent from us. It's a topic that that I don't think I can sit back in the weeds and just be the guy that everybody knows what I'm thinking. I think it's a topic that it's time to bring it to the forefront and let people know we're a little tired of getting pushed around. So, thanks for that.
Yeah, that's great. No, you sound very accomplished. I know we had a good conversation. Can you tell us a little bit of some of the feel of your community? You've been on the board for a while. How are some of the past things that have occurred, like Scott was mentioning, I kind of mentioned, kind of played out in your school over there in St. Croix Central?
We have a very, very, very good admin staff that our job as school board members is not that hard. It's not that tricky. It's not that it's just I don't know. It's they do such a nice job with our kids. They care so much for our kids that they want to do what's best for our children. And when you put our children first, it seems like those ideals align a ton with the rest of the community. So we haven't had a lot of polarizing topics and where we stand with our superintendent all the way down through our elementary principal level positions is just great people who care a ton for our kids.
That's really good. Before we go to Danny, I got one more question for you. Communication between parents and school boards have obviously been a huge issue around the country. It sounds like part of your success is because of communication. Do you guys have a really good communication pipeline with your taxpayers or the citizens, business owners in your community?
Yeah, I really think so. I know not a lot of school board members are really going to hide and not be out and not be present. We have an awful lot of school board members that are parents of athletes, and I'm not saying high school is it. It's all the way from kindergarten through now some of their children are in college. Mine are still all in school, but a lot of our board members have it's a little bit more of a younger. I guess I shouldn't say younger. I'm a 43 or 42 now, but I feel young. But we've got a board with a lot of children that are in the school district and in the school system. So you see them at a lot of public events, and I think our community is one that if they don't like what's happening, they'll just come up and tell you. And that's kind of always been a policy of mine, maybe a little too much to tell people exactly what I'm thinking, but it seems to be working with us and our community members.
That's really good. I think traveling for so many months, for so many years straight, and attending so many meetings, I think people actually want that straight talk from their elected leaders. They don't want to have to guess. So I commend you on that. That's pretty awesome to be who you are and let the voters decide on that alone. So thank you very much.
You bet.
So we have Danny Erickson, like I had originally mentioned. Danny Erickson's kind of the lightning rod that really got all this going. Matter of fact, when I started joining the movement, one of the things that we were focusing on were really the Second Amendment as one of our main issues. I had done a survey amongst the people who were attending the meetings, and that was actually the number one issue that came out on a nice scale. However, Title IX on that presentation did come into the fourth or fifth place. However, it's quickly and fastly moved to the top. And I think we made a really good decision by putting our efforts behind Danny Erickson. And like I mentioned, Danny, to give you some highlights on this, is first time elected board member, worked her tail off to get on there, had to go through a lot of people to get there. And when the time came, she did a lot of what Derek did. She followed through on what she said she was going to do to the taxpayer, to the citizen. For those who haven't followed school boards, that's really difficult to live out your character and your principles, especially when it's not a popular topic sometimes. So from what I understand is when this came up, Danny was basically the only person. She got it tabled, and here we are today. So Danny Erickson, ladies and gentlemen, if you could introduce you to the people and tell us a little bit why you stood up when you did, Danny.
Sure. Yes. Happy to. Thanks, Matt. I'm a mom of 4 in the Somerset Public Schools. I love Somerset, and my kids are doing really well. And they, I am a firm advocate of public education, and I was able to. Well, I have been watching Title IX since it was passed. April 19th, and I am on the policy committee for Somerset School Board. And I just asked, a couple questions about that to my couple other school board members on the policy committee, and nobody really had any good answers. And the representative for the policy committee was there, and he was able to answer a few, but we had to table the discussion, and it was going to have to go to the board because I wasn't going to let many changes go further with it. Just, yeah, had to end there for me. So and I laid out those reasons why. Where was I, Matt? Remind me where I was going with that.
Oh, just you on the policy advisory there, and you probably were finding this to be something maybe the community would care about, kind of like what Derek said about communication. I'm assuming that's kind of where you're going with it. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Absolutely. Yes. And I think that because this happened in April, and that was quite a quick turnaround, with an August 1st implementation, and people check out over the summer with sports, and people really aren't paying much attention. And so I felt the need to talk to people and call for the rallying cry to make people aware. And I'm really, really happy that people are getting interested and concerned. There's a lot of concern now, rightly so. So we have our we had the board meeting last week, July 8th, and our first reading of this new non-discrimination policy. And there was some discussion, and now tomorrow, Monday the 15th, is going to be a deeper discussion. We had the lawyer last Monday night there, and I asked a lot of questions and got some roundabout answers there. So we'll dive deeper into that. And yes, I do have some background in just policy. I went to school for political science outside of Washington, D.C., and I just think a lot of the influence and some of the problems that we're experiencing in public education are coming both from the federal and the state level. And it's just, that's where those decisions are being made, and case law, and just, I love it. And that's where we need to be, where we need to dial in and tune into to watching those changes, and then getting involved in those so that we can make those work in our favor.
That's great. You touch base a little bit, because we don't know who's all obviously watching this tonight, or obviously it'll be recorded and shared probably numerous times, like things have been going here. Can you tell us a little bit about kind of that campaign process? Because there might be people watching this today, tomorrow, a year from now, right? I know my wife, Sarah Bachland, she was on the election committee for election chair, the Republican Party of St. Croix. You guys work together on your campaign and things like that. But can you kind of, for the viewers and listeners here, can you kind of explain how you kind of came into running for the school board, and kind of how you crafted your message? Because obviously you're living out your message right now. Can you just share with them, so if they're thinking about running for school board, they can kind of understand on the grassroots perspective what that takes to be a first-time person with no political influence running for a seat like that, so that you can be an advocate like you are today on this board?
Yeah, like you can just start out with things that might concern you, and then you flush those out, you research them. One of my big things was curriculum transparency. I think all lesson plans should be online, easy for parents to see. I know of another school district in Wisconsin that is doing that currently right now, and I'm just so impressed with that. And I use that as a reference. And so that's curriculum transparency. Another is parental involvement. It's so essential for parents just to be aware of what their kids are doing. It's so hard when everything is online for these kids, and unless you're standing over their shoulders, there's no textbooks going home. There's not many papers, so online access for parents is the only way to have that oversight that is needed.
That's great. So, has that evolution from campaigning to today, have you found that a lot of the parents that you had spoken to on the campaign trail and who supported you, have they kind of come to the table and to the plate to help you now stand up for these principles in the school board? Like we had, like I say, I counted 70 some people inside. I've never seen anybody sitting in the boardroom on the floor. And I traveled lots of meetings. I've sat in a lot of different meetings. I've never seen people sit on the floor in a meeting. So, are some of these people who came people that you had spoken to on the campaign trail
Yes.
and helping you? Okay, gotcha.
Yep, absolutely.
So
Yep,
they're
a lot
actually
of my supporters were there last week. Many people. So,
awesome.
Yep.
Awesome. So
Hey,
I guess
one question I just wanted to ask Danny, if she doesn't mind sharing, or maybe the school that has the online curriculum, or if we can share it, maybe put it in the comments later. That'd be interesting,
Yep.
for other people to
Sure
see.
thing. Yep, I can do that.
Awesome.
yeah. So I was just gonna finalize saying is for those who are watching this who might be thinking about running for a position on the school board. Remember, when you knock on those doors, you're not just knocking on doors. You're trying to find allies along the way and let them know that someday when you're in the arena, that you're going to call on them and say, "I'm going to give you a voice and a seat at the table to help you govern." That's kind of how I hear you saying. Is that correct, Danny? I hope I'm not putting words in your mouth, but that's kind of how I take away what you said. Maybe for listeners here. So
Yes. Yep, absolutely.
fantastic.
Agree.
Well, thank you for sharing, everybody, a little bit about you. Hopefully, our viewers here, our listeners, got a little bit of a feel about who you are. I think it's really important for people to kind of understand how you came to this, a little bit of your backgrounds. I think giving some people some tools that they can use maybe down the road if they're thinking about running for office or if they have an issue, kind of how to gather and rally to that. I think I would like to transition now, Scott, if you don't mind, sharing some of those stats. And when we did that video early on, the Title IX, I think the 2.5 hour one, I think what you said was that, yes, here it is. So you had that, some of those stats. I think some of the listeners would like to kind of have you run through that. Is that okay? Can we do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, definitely. Yeah. So I encourage you, if you get to this point and you haven't listened to the 3-minute intro that lays out Title IX and the benefits. We're going to kind of go through 2 slides here. Basically, the original law that was passed in 1972 was 37 words, and now the Title IX revisions is 1,500 pages. Now, I would like to know how that is going to benefit our women, girls, and even our staff, and not even girls, any students, right? Students and staff. There's no benefit to that. I don't understand why it's being pushed, but I would encourage you to go back and watch the intro video, 3 minutes. But some of the stats that come out of that video, and I'm just going to point out a few. In 1966, only 16,000 females played college athletics. In 2001, 150,000 plus women competed in college sports. That's 43%. And 2014, 200,000 plus competed at the college level. And one interesting fact I left out, I was going to put in there, is before Title IX was passed in 1972, only 7% of females played high school sports. And actually, if you listen to the Monday night board meeting at Somerset, there was actually someone that spoke that was there in the late 60s that was pushing for a girls basketball team, and they did end up getting it. So very neat. So the at the end of the day, one piece that I'm going to just close with that I thought was pretty interesting is workplace. The women in the workforce, executive level or higher, 80% of them played competitive sports. So it's no, if we're going to start taking things away from them or reversing the benefits of Title IX, it's unlawful, and we're going to get a little bit more into that. but I believe the intention of Title IX was to benefit women and girls in facilities that were federally funded. And at this point, the way these Title IX revisions are, at the end of the day, there will be women that are put to the back door to somebody who's claiming to be a woman but a biological male. So with that, Matt, I'll turn it back over to you.
Perfect. Yeah, I think it's really important for people to.
Important thing for you to know is you're not.
That's okay. No, I think it's good for people to get a flavor of kind of like that historical perspective. This isn't something that just obviously should be thought of overnight. It should have some pretty good implementation capacities. And if a policy is so good, you wouldn't think that it would have this kind of effect across the nation. I think, Danny, I think I'd like to switch over to you based upon what Scott has on the screen here right now. I think my biggest takeaway, Danny, we're going to get kind of for you to explain kind of how this night went and who we're looking at here. However, one thing that I took away was that I come from corporate America, and usually corporate America, when you're putting policies and procedures in place, they usually have to be crystal clear, and there has to be an objective and a strategy so that everybody on the team is moving in the right direction. Kind of like a military force, really. And this gentleman that we had seen at the meeting, in my opinion, there was a lot of holes in that. So I think I'd like to start there, if that's okay, Danny. If
Sure.
you can kind of explain to the viewers some of the holes I might be observing, if that's the right, I guess, explanation.
Yeah. Yep. So this is our Somerset District Attorney. Represents the board and the district for Somerset. And he talked for about 45 minutes or so on Title IX and the new non-discrimination policy that he left up to us to decide on what we should do, but laid out all the reasons why he thought we should, probably accept it. One being, number one, it's the law. It's federal law, and it's mandated, and you need to be in compliance by August 1st. And one of the other school board members did, pipe up at the end and ask, after a bunch of other questions were raised, if there was anything we could do to just, hold off or wait. And he was kind of put on the spot with that and kind of skirted around that a little bit. But some of the other things were, oh gosh, where should I start? What did we talk about? We talked about, he talked about how nothing is going to change very much for Wisconsin because it's all pretty much already existing. And he built off that argument by saying gender identity is already in Wisconsin, it's already in your policies because of case law. And that case was, he kept referencing it. It's Whitaker versus Kenosha, which was decided in 2017. And when I pressed on that a little bit and I said, well, where in state statute do we have gender identity? Where do we have bathrooms? Where do we have all this other stuff? And, he couldn't answer, or I can't remember, but I think he did admit it wasn't in state law. But he said this case, Whitaker versus Kenosha, was law of the land. And that was a transgender student, it was declared that he could, have rights to, this was a middle school student, have rights to that bathroom. But I think what was so important about that case was there were so many things going on. Like, one, that transgender student had a medical condition where he had to be very, 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 very close to a bathroom, which happened to be the girls' restrooms were closest to his classroom or something like that. And he couldn't use a gender neutral bathroom, which was down by the principal's office. So that is not a good case to apply across Wisconsin. It was so, and every case is so different. So I think that it's being challenged right now, actually, in another case, Elkhorn. And that's looking like that's going to come out a different decision than what happened in Whitaker versus Kenosha. So there's that.
Hey, Dina, can I
And,
stop you there and
yep,
kind of have a dialogue about that? So
you bet.
what I took away from that is, for those who may or may not be following, I know that everybody doesn't follow everything, but the Chevron case in the Supreme Court,
Yep.
that was referenced. I think people should look up what that case is. I guess my first part, can you kind of explain to people what happened with Chevron there with the Supreme Court for people who maybe hadn't been paying attention? Because that has
Yep.
kind of has a little bearing here, and I'll ask you my follow-up question after that, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure, you bet.
Okay.
So Chevron deference is a doctrine that has been around since 1984 with a Supreme Court decision. And that is where it was declared that federal agencies could have quite broad scope on broadening things. And they could kind of move past Congress. And so that is what Biden built the new Title IX revisions on, was Chevron deference. And the Supreme Court overruled that and turned it back 2 weeks ago. And so now this whole thing could fall apart just on that. And I don't even think we need Chevron deference to be overturned to know that this is unconstitutional, because it was such a broad redefinition of sex, no longer meaning male or female, that absolutely should have gone through Congress.
Right. So I also thought, Danny, this is a Biden administration revision, as I understand it from everything I've read. And obviously you and Scott have come far before me on this issue. But as kind of somebody's trying to get this for the viewers and listeners, let you get out of your head. We've seen the Biden administration now, their rulings haven't held up in the courts very well, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So I thought the latest Trump things with January 6th was kind of a big deal at the Supreme Court. The Chevron's a big thing in the courts. So I guess my thought is this. What I heard this lawyer say, based upon the cases you referenced, especially with the Moms for Liberty case that came out with the Kansas ruling. Maybe before I ask my question to you, can you explain to the listeners and to the viewers what happened with the Moms for Liberty in that Kansas case? I think that may be a good piece to add as a little background here.
Yeah, so that is a case brought with, several states were involved. I think Utah, Kansas, I can't remember the other two. And then the Southeastern Legal Foundation tacked on with Moms for Liberty, and is it Young America Foundation members? It's another group. And so that was all kind of wrapped up into one lawsuit, and the judge did come down with a ruling on that a couple weeks ago and gave the injunction to those 4 states. In addition to that is a nationwide injunction for Moms for Liberty members and Young American members. And it seems vague, and I'm sure it's all going to get worked out, but that is the ruling as it stands now. And those Moms for Liberty members are submitting those schools that have members with children in them by tomorrow. So Somerset School District in print will be in that legal document by tomorrow night at midnight on the 15th, as will all the other school districts around here.
That's really good. I think that was a good thing to point out real quick. Sometimes I forget that we've been eating, breathing, sleeping this, so I forget sometimes that we got to get kind of the backstory. Sometimes we just assume, in this, but I think it's really good for the viewers and listeners to kind of hear some of that backstory. So I guess where I'm going with it, I guess my follow-up point, where I was going, my line of question is that it appears to me that a lot of Biden administration policies are really being passed more on the social or ideology type rulings, and they seem to be falling short on the constitutional merits or within the bounds of the law. So I guess what I'd like to ask you is this. I don't want to give you my thoughts on it. However, didn't he seem a little shaky on the ruling with the Moms for Liberty in the Kansas one?
You know what? I think from what I took away was that he was definitely he was shaky. I agree with that. And I think he just flat out said it didn't apply to us. And we no longer really had to acknowledge it, is what I took away.
Right. So now this gentleman here, you've been on the board now for a few months, obviously. This gentleman is what in terms of your board? Like, he seemed like he had a lot of authority in that room. Can you tell us a little bit about his position, kind of how he functions, what his function is to you guys as board members?
Yes, I think he offers his legal advice. He was asked to come in for the book challenge last year and give his advice to the board. And I was unhappy with how that turned out because he referenced the Supreme Court decision that we were not debating. We were talking about explicit material with which school boards have the right to remove based on vulgar alone. And he talked about religion and different ideas and political things, and that was just he used that to convince the board members that that they could not remove books based on those things, and that was not the argument. So I was disappointed in how that turned out. I understand he was trying to protect the school, but I just think it could have been handled way differently.
Right. Yeah, I agree. And just for, again, the viewers, listeners to catch up on, kind of where I thought, Danny, and I'm going to kind of give you some of my thoughts on it and then kind of have you respond, or we go to Scott and Derek for another question after here. But one of the things he mentioned was they're not going to come after the sports because they didn't rule on the sports yet. But from all the reading I've done on this issue, that it's a soft recommendation that if this did come up on the sports issue, that the revisions to Title IX under the Biden administration's understanding would hold up. So for those who may not know, last week, Mary Miller, this past week, had introduced a bill in Congress. And Congressman Tiffany had made mention of this after her name was Scarlett Johansson, correct? Is that her name?
Scarlett Johnson.
Scarlett Johnson from Moms for Liberty. She had posted, and we'll get to this in a second here, I hope. Hopefully somebody will have the video for me of the coach, Scott or Danny, if you have that available. Hopefully we'll be able to share that with our viewers tonight. But that being said, he had come out and he has said Joe Biden's Title IX rewrite will allow biological men to use girls' bathrooms and locker rooms. Female spaces, sports must be protected in biological men. One of the things the lawyer had said was that this is an evolving, Kansas was one of them, it's an evolving matter. And one of the board members when I was there had said, well, then what's the rush of implementing this? Well,
Oh, that was me.
that was you. Okay, that was you. I apologize. I don't remember. It was you. Yes, that was a really good point, because it's interesting because the takeaway after the Mary Miller's reading and discussion there in Congress, it literally says under here in their discussion that Biden's new rule, which will go into effect August 1st, and I'm reading this from the Post, removes female-only spaces such as locker rooms, bathrooms, and other sex-separated areas, while also allowing biological men to compete within women's sports and organizations. The U.S. Department of Education already has put a statement out warning schools that in order to receive federal funding, including the free and reduced lunch program. So it seems like the things that I heard you and a lot of people giving the public comments for 3 minutes there at the beginning of the meeting, they were talking about these things, and the lawyer really was kind of shaky on it and saying that the rules are evolving. It appears that Congressman Tiffany's post, what Congress had debated, is very similar to what our conversation was. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I completely agree. And this is my own private opinion, but I think the Biden administration and the Department of Education doesn't need to make an explicit statement on sports because it's already implied. And
Okay.
just like the Whitaker versus Kenosha case is throughout our policies, and school districts can work off that and put gender identity into our policies just by that one case. That's all they need. I think that's all they need.
Yep. And I find it interesting too that Somerset is meeting Washington. Washington is meeting Somerset at a very unique time. It's really interesting how the power of you standing up is mirroring what Congressman Tiffany is doing in Washington right now, and Mary Miller's bill. So, thank you very much, Danny, for sharing. Hey, Scott, would you be able to play the video here? And then after that, I'd like to go to Derek to get his feedback on how his core council experiences.
Important thing for you to know is you're not alone. You're not in this. You're not the only district that this is happening in. Unfortunately, we kind of have this situation where these laws were put in place and they're effective everywhere, and you're a little bit limited, frankly, in what you can do here. One of the big issues that I wanted to address right off the bat is there was a lot of discussion about boys and girls participating in the same sports. I want to make it very clear that at this point, these revisions to the Title IX rules really don't talk about that. There is a carve-out that talks about the difference between the general rules applicable to Title IX that say non-discrimination, and then also its application to sports. And so I think that that's very important to say. What you don't have in front of you right now is a decision that you need to make on sports. So I'd say you would put that aside. That's not really what's before you. It's been a little bit interesting in looking through this and reading through the cases. There's been a lot of discussion about sports, and obviously that's in a lot of the news articles as well, but that's frankly not what's in there at this point. They have said over and over again, the federal government has said, the sports regulations are coming. We're considering that in the future, and it's just not in there at this point.
So I think we got a good flavor of that. Thank you very much, Scott, for sharing that. Derek, are you there still?
Yep, I sure am.
Okay, perfect. I know you're running around there, so sorry. So Danny kind of shared, and you heard her experience of core council, how they treated her. How's core council treated you or has engaged with you as a school board?
We don't have a lot of contact as a school board with our legal counsel. A lot of that is funneled through our admin staff or our superintendent. But like I said in the beginning, we haven't had a lot of polarizing topics or anything on the agenda that has really needed for us to have somebody else take a look at things at this point. I know that this topic is at the forefront of a lot of our board members, not just because it's a Republican or a Democrat thing, but it's because it's for our students, for our kids, our own personal daughters, and it's my wife. I just walked in here and my wife just said, "I can't believe that you have to spend your time on something so stupid." And I really think that that's a pretty smart takeaway at the end of the day. This is ridiculous that we have to argue over something so foolish. So sorry, I got a little sidetracked on a personal note there. So
No, it's really good. It's good to hear different perspectives of school boards. And so real quick, Scott or Danny, I had mentioned the coach, and Derek just hit the nail on the head with that comment of what his wife just said. It's common sense to us, like his wife. Can anybody play the video of the coach? And I think Derek will get a good kick out of it if he hasn't seen it yet, especially with his experience in wrestling. Do you have that video at all?
Oh, sorry. Helps if I unmute myself.
Okay.
Could you guys see the video when I shared it?
We couldn't hear it. We could see it quick, but couldn't hear anything.
You can see it. All right. Well, I didn't start playing it. All right, here we go.
Okay.
And I'm ashamed to be in front of this board to talk about this. That this is an issue. It's disgusting. The biggest threat to us here is our Constitution. There's an evil force out there that is attacking our Constitution, trying to break it down. Everybody here has an First Amendment right to do and be what you want to be, to religiously preach and receive your God in the way you believe, to be who you want to be. That's your right. But don't push it on me. My right is to do what I want to do. I'm actually sick and tired of this. I've interviewed some of these school board members and said to them, here's some of the books we have here. Can you read it to me? They didn't want to. It's a slippery slope. It started with the books in our school library. I asked my son who graduated from here 2 years ago. He goes, yeah, we knew they were there. We didn't read them. We're talking trucks, fishing, and hunting. That's what I want my boys talking about. And what the girls want to talk about is good. I mean, I want them to be girls. I want them to be boys. I want them to have a life in the school system where they're safe. And you let this stuff into this school, I guarantee I'll be the first lawsuit against you. 18 years of coaching high school sports and working the programs, it's like, what a joke. I can't even believe it's on the agenda. Stand up, Somerset, and demand the rest of the state to follow us and end this crap. Because it's our Constitution that's under attack, and they're breaking it down little by little by all this strange stuff. I almost swore. But I'm telling you, it's over. Otherwise, you'll find my name on the first lawsuit. I'm tired of it.
So, Derek, my first response to that guy, because I was the guy with the camera going in and out, taking pictures of people on video, I said to him, and it was fiery. I got chills standing there right next to him. And I said, I would have hated being a player on your team. And he looked at me. He said, we won a lot of championships. So based upon what your wife just said to you about you watched there, have you seen that video before?
I have, yeah. Scott sent that to me about a week ago, and I watched it.
So as a person who's been in athletics, wrestling, and around coaching, how did that affect you, or how did you feel when you were watching that? What was your reaction?
Kind of the same thought process. I probably try not to get quite as heated anymore as I used to, and it's about the same level as that guy. But it's very understandable. I can definitely see where he's coming from. I don't think it's too out of line, and it just, long story short, it's very understandable where he's coming from.
Yeah, I felt the same way. So you said that this item has not come up on your agenda. You have a meeting coming up Wednesday, but it's to approve the budget that you guys worked on previously. Nobody from your school boards talked about it?
There's been conversations just in passing, basically hallway conversations between a few board members, and a couple other board members are working pretty diligently on making sure that this steers clear of St. Croix Central, and we don't want any part of it. And the nice thing about some of the things that Scott has sent is it's shown that we don't have to make an immediate decision. we can push this and table it until there's a little bit more clarity in what's coming down, or even maybe some, because there's some revisions in the I think it's an exhibit is what it's called right now. So there's some revisions in there right now, and I think we can table it and put it on, out for future agenda items. So yeah, long story short, people are talking about it on the St. Croix Central School Board, and until there's more clarity, I think we're all probably in a mode of sitting. Well, I can't speak for everybody. I know I myself personally, I'm on a mode of sitting pat and pushing it out and tabling it.
That's really good. So if people from the school district you're in are watching this over at St. Croix Central there, would you welcome their contacting you, or who do you think they should contact if they have any concerns or want to be able to follow up on this in their school district?
Sure. You can contact me. I don't speak for the entire school board. I speak for myself. You can contact Tim Whitaker. You can contact our high school principal, Brian Johnson, our middle school principal, Chance Langness, all the way down to Shelley Clay. Anybody would be happy to talk through things. But I think if there's some concerns, the community members wouldn't be the only ones that have the concerns. I think there'd be some board members that have some concerns as well.
Yeah, no, it sounds like you got a really nice system over there. I think when issues like this come up, and maybe you can agree or disagree, you got a lot of business experience. I think a lot of this is trying to be upstream and having a good relationship with the parents.
Yep.
Having that trust. Do you think some of your business experience and coaching experience has really helped you on the board? So when big items like this have come up maybe in the past, it's helped you navigate through?
I would say, yeah. I mean, like I said, I'm trying to be a little bit more calm and less rage. Trying to settle down a little bit as I get older, but I definitely say, yeah. It's just all the experiences of sitting in a large room presenting to people and hearing all their complaints and the no's and all the negativity and dealing with that and overcoming obstacles it all helps in life. So
Right.
will be my 20th year of coaching that I'm going into. So that thanks. Yeah, it's I say it's flown by. My wife probably it gets longer and longer every year. So
yeah. Well, I think it's interesting because the one thing I noticed about this when we started the conversation is you obviously are accomplished. You've shared that on what you've done. Scott is very accomplished. He's a businessman as well. And Danny Erickson is also a business person. I'm a business person. And I get that feeling a lot, especially when you go around the community. And maybe you guys can confirm this or not what you hear, but I hear a lot of people say we need to get business-minded people in government again. People who know how to run budgets, people who know how to work with people who have strategic goals and can outline them and have visions and then accomplish the things. And I've seen just on this call and some of the things we've done for joining the movement, it seems like a lot of really accomplished business people are bringing their gifts and talents to the public sector. And I know that's obviously I've done it. You've all done it. It's a big sacrifice. Wouldn't you agree just to serve the people, Derek?
Yeah, absolutely. It's I shouldn't say I didn't know what I was getting into, but I didn't realize the amount of time that the school board would require. And it's been a lot less over the last five to 6 months. But when I first joined, it was quite a bit of time. But going kind of back to your statement there about business-minded people getting in the public sector, I don't think that they necessarily really left. I think that just with the actions and some of the ideals that are coming at everyone, more people are willing to stand up, and especially after that COVID debacle, I think more people are willing to fight for what they believe in and what we would consider would be right.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks. Phenomenal point. Oh, great point. Well,
Hey,
looks like
one part I want to add, you
Scott.
talked about the channels of communications, and one thing I'd want to add to just the communities out there, right? If it may seem silly to send your board members and your admin a note, but if you don't do that, right, the board members, the admins making decisions based on what I would encourage everybody to watch / listen to the board meeting from Monday the 8th at Somerset and listen to that legal counsel. I mean, that guy is totally misleading. I would say most of his talking points, right, were misleading, and that's my opinion. But if your board is only hearing from the legal counsel and hearing from nobody else on topics, especially ones like this, but even other topics, what are they running off there? They're going to go off the legal counsel that's saying, well, you got to do this, right? Because that's basically what the lawyer was saying then at Somerset was like, well, it's really not a big deal. You got to, you got to do it. It's law. It's federal law, even though he's ignoring the fact that it's in an injunction. There's multiple, I believe it's unlawful. So at that point, you, as a somebody who took an oath, if it's unlawful, you should not be going along with it, right? And you shouldn't be worried about the school district getting sued if it's unconstitutional or unlawful. But most people, aren't in for that fight, especially if they don't. The community's not back. The community's going to hear about it after it falls apart, right? And then they're going to be like, well, why, and it's like, well, if the community's behind you, it's a lot easier as a board member or even an administrator in the school. So I would encourage everybody to get more involved in the communication up front, reading the agendas, making your comments, and I think everybody will be a little better off. We're getting a little long here, but I will. What I want to do here is I'm going to hide us, and then feedback of the people, like how hard do you want us to fight this? I, for myself, believe that we should fight this till our death, as far as the for our girls, right? Like, but on top of that, our staff is going to suffer from not only extensive training. So some of the stuff I've learned, our staff is going to have to. They're going to have to not only go through more extensive training. So in the past, previous regulations, the admin was trained on Title IX. Now the staff's going to go through extensive training, and also if they hear about stuff that happens over the summer, now they're going to get pulled into that and have to do something based on how the rules are laid out. And our staff already doesn't have enough time to address educational stuff. There's no reason that we have to make this whole topic that's going to have freedom of speech problems, compelled speech problems. So yeah, I just wanted to bring those pieces forward as stuff that needs to be considered. I would again encourage everybody to watch what he says on that meeting, and I believe that if your lawyer this is to the school board members. If your lawyer is not telling you that you should be looking at it from an unlawful stance up front, I mean, we can talk about the pros, cons of that, but the whole purpose of Title IX was to, for the benefit of women, equal rights for women. And the Title IX revisions would actually reverse the equal rights for women. So, which is contrary to law, which is something that you can't do administrative rules. So it's unlawful rule changes. And even with the Chevron and deference, you know, that makes it even more unlawful, right? They don't even have that slippery slope anymore. So yeah, that's my 2 cents on it.
No, that's great. I know it's time too. We're coming just a little over an hour here into it. So just a couple more things, and I think we can kind of wrap it up and kind of tell folks kind of the call to action following up. But Scott, before we move on past your last comment there, now for the listeners in Baldwin Woodville, much like I asked Derek, up to this point, Baldwin Woodville is kind of in a holding pattern, correct? As you explained?
Correct. Right now, it is not on our agenda for tomorrow night. We just got a new superintendent. Yeah, we're holding right now. Haven't had a whole lot of conversation. Feedback that I'm getting is that, you know, this isn't something, and in knowing a lot of these people before I became a board member, you know, I don't think it's something that we should let fly here in Baldwin, and I don't think we will. But that's no reason for the constituents to not let us know what you're thinking. Okay, let us know. So when it comes to having the lawyer in front of us, and I don't know, I've never actually, only being in 2 board meetings, I've never been in a meeting with our legal counsel. I don't know how it's going to come out, but you know, I want to have your emails to back up our decision. So.
Well, that's really good. Do you think, and I guess we can get Derek's comments too on it. Do you believe the efforts that are going on in Somerset right now are paying forward and helping districts like yours in Baldwin Woodville or in St. Croix Central for Derek? And do you think that what happens in one school board can positively and negatively affect another? Do you guys see yourselves as a symbiotic kind of organism working together, or can one win and the others lose? And I guess that's my question. Do you guys see you all working together as one team, or one wins and everybody else wins? Kind of how does that look like, in your opinion?
I can jump on that one. I don't see us working across the community lines that much. I think that the board that we have here in St. Croix Central has a lot of the same ideas and wants to see the same results for our kids. I'm not saying that maybe we can't work across, you know, community lines ever, but I feel like what we do as a collective group is great for our community. But I guess I wouldn't say we're you know, moving through different avenues to collaborate.
Okay, good.
Yeah, it's you know, it's knowing Derek outside of you know, becoming school board members, you know, so one of the good things is having connections, right, in life, and being able to make connections. And you know, I didn't know Danny really till she started running. Her and I both were running for school board, and that's how I got to know Danny. But it's a matter of the communities, you know, they're all different, and it should be driven by the people. And we got to get more to the decisions being driven by the people. I'm going to go back to the people got to communicate. Part of it is electing that person, but after they're elected, you know, don't fall asleep and assume that the right things are being done, because we've seen plenty of policies that, you know, haven't been what the people wanted. And part of that is the people not being there, not being in the conversation. So yeah, I look at the situation with Danny and I and other board members in St. Croix County that I know as a way to, you know, hey, this is something that came across ours. Have you seen anything? You know, more of a sidebar of like staying ahead of some of this stuff. But at the end of the day, we answer to the people who elected us. So.
Well, I find it kind of unique because Derek had mentioned they have these conversations in passing and things, and you're having those conversations in passing in yours. It's really funny how people are kind of working at that same level, don't realize that they are. So that's just really interesting there. Obviously, we know what happened in Somerset.
Can I pipe in?
Sure.
Can I add my 2 cents? I was going to say, I think that every school district is their own entity, and I love that. I just think it can't be understated how much other school districts watch each other. I firmly believe that that is part of what's going on here in this federal decision, so federal rule. So, I just, yeah, I think it's a time for certain districts to be strong and stand up and make a strong example.
Well, thank you. That's good comments there. Okay, so I think we'll be wrapping it up here because we're at about a little over the hour mark here, Central in Wisconsin. We'll do a couple closing statements here, but I guess from the Join the Movement perspective, Derek actually hit, I think it was Derek who mentioned it, that Join the Movement isn't to be focused on Democrat or Republican. It's to focus on the constitutional things that are happening within the 35. We have 35 municipalities here in St. Croix County. So I think Join the Movement, its design is to educate, train, motivate, and equip people to be able to tackle the issues that affect them in the community and help people like Scott and Derek and Danny, for all intents and purposes, have the public discourse in the public sector. And I think Derek hit the nail on the head. I think I agree with Derek. I have seen a sea change in America since 2021, the whole pandemic, 2021, 2020, 21, 2022. That pandemic really did shift things and change things. And I think more people are engaged in their communities. So again, on that point, I just hope that the citizen within our counties realize they're the highest elected official there is. And the people who are elected will be good stewards to the people like Scott and Danny and Derek. I think that's the overarching message I got today, is how well the communications happen in St. Croix Central and how they've worked that through their whole process. I know working with Scott that they have a very good working relationship there as well, and I see similar things. Obviously, Danny is in a little different situation. So, so I think I just want to get closing statements from each one of you. I think, Scott, if I see there's something on the screen here, but I think Danny can kind of give us a call to action for tomorrow night in Somerset. The one thing that I want to do from Joining the Movement and mention is I'm trying to get the More Perfect Union podcast to join once again tomorrow. Maybe Danny can touch on this when she does her final remarks here. However, in the amendment or the last vote on July 8th at the school board, they made an amendment to not hear public comment. And one of the remarks that I believe it was the chair, and Danny can correct me or not, there mentioned is he made a point, and I'm paraphrasing here, you get to pull the minutes to see, but he says something to the extent of, we've heard enough from the people, so he agreed with not having the public comment. That was what the amendment was to that particular vote. And my thought sitting there is that as an elected person, you should always be willing to hear from the people. Now, I'm not sure, and Danny, again, I know I'm throwing a lot at you to kind of clean up here at the end of your comments, but I feel like this goes along with the freedom of speech thing that people are concerned about with Title IX revisions. And why wouldn't you want to hear from all the people? Because clearly Scott and Derek have communicated that extremely well tonight of how important it is to have that symbiotic relationship between the people and their constituent. So I think, Scott, if we can kick off with you first, but tomorrow, if you're coming to the Somerset board meeting at 6:00, I would ask that you bring a white sign with vote no or table so that you can hold that up, because they took our voice away but they can't take our messaging away. So if you come to the meeting, please, I encourage you to bring a sign, vote no, or table in big letters for the board. So Scott, why don't we kick with you for your closing statements, and we'll go Derek, and then we'll finish with Danny, okay? And then we'll sign off for the night. Thank you very much, everybody.
All right. Yeah. Hey, a couple of call to actions here. The Moms of Liberty group was enjoined on Friday the 2nd. And we in St. Croix County, we've done very well. We only got, we need the middle school at Glenwood City. We need a parent with a student to sign up at momsforliberty.org there and click join the fight. Takes 2 minutes. Great organization. And we'll have all St. Croix County schools covered. So if you know somebody right now, it has to be submitted to the courts by the end of the day tomorrow. Please reach out and get that submitted. We're working in the background too, because obviously coming from Glenwood City, I know some people there, but they have failed to come through. So the other thing is just make sure you write your school boards and your admin. Let them know that we should not accept these new rules, the unlawful rules, and send them some information. If you need some information, you can go in the comments. There's educatedelectric.org. You can go there. There's some good information on there. Pull that. It also has links to all the school boards in St. Croix County. You can find the emails and send them out. And then just get to your board meetings and be present, right? Be present in the conversation so it doesn't sit on the shoulders of just the elected people. And with that, I appreciate anybody who joins us and listens to this, and you join the fight. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Derek?
Yeah, perfect. No, I think Scott closed that out really, really well. Basically, all I can really do is echo him, especially when the very last thing he said was join the fight. I think a lot of people have been sitting on the curb and watching from the sidewalk here lately, and I would say now's as good a time as any with the acts we saw yesterday to make sure your voice is heard in a positive manner and let everybody know your thoughts. I don't think it's time to sit back and be quiet any longer.
No, I agree with you. Thank you, Derek. Derek, you hit that at the very end about, I'm assuming you're referencing what happened to former President Trump with those actions. I'm assuming is what you are referencing.
Correct.
Yes, I would echo that. I think that people are looking to do something. And so I definitely encourage you, just like what Derek said, to take that energy you have, the anger, the frustration, the excitement, everything you have, and put that into civic government and follow the actions of what President Trump are doing. Follow the actions of what Scott, Derek, and Danny are doing. I 100% agree with you. Thank you for mentioning that, Derek.
You bet.
Danny?
Yep, I will see people tomorrow night at the special session for the Somerset School Board. I was the only no vote to on the roll call vote to not take public comment, and I agree with Matt on that. Public officials, it's going to take time, but you got to listen to the people. It's just the way it is. So I hold strong on that. So I was disappointed in that outcome, but you can still come and fill a seat. And ultimately, if we don't rise up against this, which is just so basic and even bigger than masks, I don't know what else we have to fight. I mean, it's so important to just, if not now, when, it's just that important. So I look forward to seeing board meetings filling up across St. Croix County, Somerset tomorrow night. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Hey, one last thing that popped in my head there, because Danny mentioned something and it popped in. In regards to, oh my Lord, spaced it. It was there and then it's gone. No, Danny, what did you just say? And it like popped into my head. There's,
We can go back.
sorry, I apologize. I don't remember what
That's
your
okay.
last statement was, but
If not now,
Yeah, if
when?
not now, yeah, you got to join the fight. If not now, well, hey, the one thing that we did not talk about tonight, and I'm just going to add this as a plug at the end. We didn't talk about the federal funding in selling out. What's our children worth, right? Like at Somerset, it's 7%, 5 to 7% of the federal funding is 5 to 7%. You know, and there is no precedent under Title IX with as far as them taking funding and pulling it back. So, you know, what's our children, what's our staff sanity worth? You know, 7%. So there's no precedent. So just I guess wanted to leave you with that we don't have to do it. There's no precedent that they're going to pull funding, and if they do, well, more says more about us.
Somerset girls are worth more than 1.1 million.
Yes, I agree, 100%.
Yeah, and before we go, just to remind people of something that I learned a long time ago, and I like to oftentimes reference. And as we close, there was a gentleman named Martin Treptow, and he had a diary that he kept in his pocket, and he was running back and forth during the war times. But in that letter, he wrote, and what was found on him, it says, "America must win this war. Therefore, I will work, I will save, and I will sacrifice. I will endure, I will fight cheerfully, and do my utmost as if the issue of the whole struggle depended on me alone." I think if people could really understand that particular quote, and they really understood that they're going to do everything in their utmost to defend and protect America, I think we'd find less division in terms of Democrat and Republican and focus on what the Constitution and what the purpose of America was designed to do. And I think, and I mentioned that quote because you three sit on the future of education. And if we can get that instilled within the next generation, I think America will be great, America will be strong, and America will get back to their core principles and values. So I try to remind people of that quote quite a bit. Fight cheerfully, as if this whole thing depends on you alone. I think people would act vastly different in the public square and in our government. So again, with that, thank you very much, everybody, for joining. I really appreciate it. Hopefully join the movement, and the school board members will see you tomorrow night at 6 o'clock at the Somerset School District office. It's really hard to find, in my opinion, so try to get there early. But bring your sign, big vote no, table. They silenced us. Use your signs. Let's get that on camera. Let's share it. Let's get 70,000 plus views like that coach on Moms for Liberty site. And again, let's make sure that we, again, get in the arena and be accounted. And don't forget, reach out to your school board members and let them know how you're doing. So thank you very much, everybody. Really appreciate it. We're going to go ahead and sign off tonight. We had a little over an hour conversation. Please share this with friends, family, relatives. It's a really important issue. And join the movement. It's going to continue going across 35 municipalities trying to protect the freedoms of people. Thank you.
Thank you.